late. Oh my God. You're watching Ian the HR Pro live podcast where I'm dangerously unscripted every day because I'm just too lazy to write a script. And uh, I seem to think I'm a quick thinker, but I'm absolutely not a quick thinker. Anyway, of course, my name is Ian Hopfe. I'm an HR consultant. And today is Monday, November 17th. And today we're talking about human resources, all things human resources. So this is a good show for small business owners to chime in the chat. Where's that caption where it says, ask your questions in the comments. I'll try to get to them as quickly as I can as you give them in. I know there's just so many questions. We're always overwhelmed and we never have enough time. Maybe one day I'll be able to say that with a straight face because I actually am busy and actually have a giant follower base. Yeah, so right now that's not the case. That's definitely not the case. I was late. Here's the excuse. I was late because I didn't want to waste any time by just sitting here and waiting 10-15 minutes to go live. So I decided to open up a document, a work contract, and I was updating it for a new contractor for a volunteer organization that I'm a part of. And I do a lot of contract and policy type work with my business. So I figured, let's take a couple minutes, open it up, make sure it's open. So when I'm done the live, I'll get right into it and finish it off. And all of a sudden I lost 15 minutes. Bam, I'm late. Late for my own show. I'm terrible. Anyway, so doing that first employment contract, if you're a small business owner and you're thinking, I need to get a new employee, I need to hire my first employee, and I need to yawn. Monday morning, I guess somebody stayed up too late on the weekends. Anyway, you need to create that first contract, a first employment contract. And what you're going to do, it could be simple. It could be a one-pager. I've agreed to one-page contracts before. And it was basically like, we would like you offered a position of this. And these are the 2 or 3 things that you will be doing for us. They're really general, not specific. And then they said, we'll be paying you this much an hour. Please sign and return if you agree to this contract, right? It was simple, one page, not a lot of garblegook, aka legal lingo. So that can be it. It can be that simple, right? But you gotta have something. Gone are the days of a handshake employment deal. Write something down, anything down. And doesn't have to be extreme. I mean, the contract I was looking at this morning doesn't even tell me how many pages. What the heck? 6 pages long. 6 pages, not bad. I mean, if you got a 20 or 30 page employment contract or any sort of contract for your contractors, that's insane, man. 20 to 30 pages, that's too much. I'm thinking 5 to 10. 5 to 10 should be the max. If you're pushing that, there's a bunch of garbage in there you don't need. Now, I separate out the contract and the job duties. So I have a secondary document. You might call this an appendix to your contract or whatever. It's a list of job duties that person will be doing for you, or a list of services that person will be doing for you. And that's where everything gets real specific. You will do this every day. You will do this every hour. You will do this every week. You'll do this every month, right? Like, you will handle these sorts of situations. Whatever it is they're doing, you get on there and you get it as detailed as possible. I hate the phrase other duties as assigned, right? That's like a kill shot, man. That is a red flag that the new employee or the new contractor looks at and says, oh boy, I'm in for it, right? And that catch-all, it makes some employers I don't know, dishonest, or they start assigning duties just over and over, and all of a sudden you got a job that's like the work of 30 people for one person, right? Like, you really need to, as a small business owner, you need to create a position that's appropriate. So you list out every duty that you need help with, that you need support with, and you group them into job roles: administrative stuff, sales stuff, technical stuff, marketing stuff, right? The things that you want to give up and get off your plate, you start grouping them into these categories of an actual job. If you were hiring someone to do that one job with all related tasks, what tasks would you be giving them, right? You need to take the time and figure this out. And if you can't reasonably get enough tasks in to fill up a full day, full 8 hours, whatever you want to do, then it's okay to hire someone part-time, man. You don't need a full-time person. You could have a part-time person that is just doing these things, and they can work from home. They can come into the office, whatever you want to do. I mean, but it's okay to hire that part-time person. But you need to have enough work, at least for that part-time person. So it's like you're creating a job. You're actually listing out every job task that you're taking off your hands. And I always advise, take tasks off your hands that will either directly generate money. So you're saying, I need a salesperson, or I need someone who's working face-to-face with the clients. These client-facing roles, the sales types roles, this is how you make your money. They're taking over. So instead of it's just you in the business, working the business, and you're burnt out after 8 hours, well, now you can have someone else doing that client-facing work for the same hours, and you have the ability to work on your business, or you've extended your hours. So you open up the business 8 in the morning, go till the middle of the afternoon, and then your other full-time person comes in and works till 8 or 9 at night, right? So that you got more hours open. You've multiplied yourself as like the shopkeeper, right? If you are doing so many administrative tasks that it's taking away from your time for sales or customer facing stuff, So, you gotta think about this, because if you're doing phone sales and this is how you make your money, but you find yourself unable to make phone calls to the customers, then you either want to hire somebody to do the phone sales so that you can do all the admin work at the back end serving the customers. I would do that first, because that salesperson becomes a revenue generator, as opposed to getting an admin person in the back end that is an overhead cost. I would go with the sales role first, overwhelm yourself, then get an admin, then get another salesperson. Oh my God, Chan the cat. Oh, she just came running across, shook everything up. This is my toxic work employee, partner, co-worker, my toxic co-worker. That's it. So you want to think about that sort of stuff. Is the new employee a revenue generator or overhead? Always go with the revenue generator first, because you, as the owner, if you get busy, you can always work later and it doesn't cost you anything. Now, I'm not saying do this forever, but you have to get yourself to a position where you're creating enough revenue for the organization that you can actually afford the back end. So just think about that. Always think about filling a sales role first, or getting another salesperson first. They're never going to be as good as you. Ever, ever, ever. But they're going to get the 75% you. And that's good. Right? So the job description that you're creating from these positions, from these tasks, you look at the individual tasks that you're doing each day. Is that really something that you need to pay someone for? It may be something that you don't need to look at. Some owners, I know, I get this way. They get to a point where they're checking social media analytics and statistics and all that stuff, and they're checking it every day, like that's like super important. That's just something you're doing as the owner. It's not a revenue generating task. Yes, you need to refer these numbers, but you also need enough data, because the day-to-day is going to look like this with your statistics, and it's just going to be a mess. So one day you're going to be like, woohoo! Next day you're going to be like, what happened? I want to quit my company, right? So I would say lower this practice down to weekly or monthly, and track the monthly data, because that it just becomes this time suck that you're doing when you could be doing something that's a little more productive, whether it's doing your client work for your clients or you're trying to make more sales. That's more productive than checking out the stats to see if you got 40 hits on your website or 75, right? That doesn't mean anything. It's not day to day. Those numbers are so small and insignificant. My lips are dry. Anyway, so you're creating this job description, and it's listing out everything that this new employee will be doing, and you name it. Salesperson job description, right? So when you go to the contract, you're trying to hire a new salesperson, or maybe you're hiring a new sales contractor. However you want to do it. when you're a small business, hiring an employee can be more expensive than you think because you're paying the additional back end payroll expense and the extra task of doing payroll. Suddenly, your small time bookkeeper has to do more for you and it's a bigger expense, things like that. So, if you're like me, a small business owner, I hire an accountant each year to file my business taxes, and that's it. Usually the accountant does a quick review of my books to make sure I haven't done anything, and then they do done anything wrong, and then they do the like depreciation calculations because I'm not quite sure how to do that. So they do that for me, and then they file my taxes for me, and that's what my accountant does, and that's $500 to $1,000 each year. But I'm not paying for a bookkeeper because I'm doing the bookkeeper. I'm doing the bookkeeper job. I pay for QuickBooks Online, and I'm doing everything through there. If you've ever worked with me, I send my invoices through QuickBooks, and QuickBooks actually accepts my payments and deposits it into my bank account. So it's actually really nice for a small business owner. I'm not paying for a bookkeeper, just more back end. I'm paying for the program, yes, and that's fine. But I'm not hiring a bookkeeper as an employee. I'm hiring my accountant as a contractor, and they're doing their thing. So a small business owner, you might think, oh, I need to hire an employee. Well, maybe you don't need to hire an employee. If you're hiring a contract salesperson and you pay them a base amount of money each month, and then you pay them a bonus for each sale they make. But you got to remember the labor laws. You've got to pay a certain amount that equals the expected minimum wage in your area. So minimum wage is $15 an hour here in Alberta. So 15 times, let's say we expect that salesperson to work 40 hours a week. We don't expect more, we don't expect less. But as a contractor, it's their prerogative, right? They could work less, they could work more. A contractor isn't necessarily going to be in your business. If you demand they work from your office space and you give them the computer they're using and you give them the services and the cell phone services that they will be using, that by definition is an employee. If you're going the contractor route, which is easier on payroll and the back end calculation, because each month or every 2 weeks or whatever the deal is, your contractor will give you an invoice. And then you just pay the invoice like they're a regular service provider that you're, like the cell phone service you use, like you're just paying them like it's some service you're using, right? So, and that can be really helpful because you don't have to pay for an office space for them, and you don't have to worry if they're going to be in traffic and be late all the time. They're just working from home, and you can be really flexible and say you just work whenever the hell you want, buddy. But of course, if they're salespeople, if they're a good salesperson, they know when's a good time to call on people, and that's basically Tuesday to Thursday during the week, and certainly not Friday afternoon A salesperson who's working Friday afternoon doesn't understand sales, because Friday afternoon, nobody is going to buy nothing from you unless you're like the super expert freaking rock star salesperson, just a shining angel, right? Sales don't happen Friday afternoon. Sales don't happen Monday mornings either. If you're expecting your salespeople to work Monday mornings or Friday afternoons, it's just a waste of time. Just forget it. If they want to work extra hours Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, let them, right? But if you're expecting 40 hours a week from your contract salesperson, your base pay would have to be $15 an hour times 40. It's $600 a week. Plus, they throw their GST on top. Okay? So this contract salesperson is billing you out at $600 per week plus tax times 1.05 GST. So about $630 a week. That's what they're billing out to you. They might do it weekly, they might do bi-weekly, or you might say, let's do it monthly or whatever. I think weekly or bi-weekly is probably a good way to go. And then that gives you a week or two to pay them, right? I would say pay them as fast as you can. But the transaction period might take a little bit, right? A day or two. So that's what you're paying them base. That's your salesperson. And in that, you're not really monitoring their time. You're making sure that you're paying them at least minimum wage. And if they're working 40 hours a week, $15 an hour, you're covered. You're golden. Sorry. The real place your contract salesperson is going to make money is when they make a sale, right? And you want it to be good. Whatever your product is or your service is, they've got to get a good chunk of that, because salespeople really are money motivated. The $630 per week is going to keep them from going into poverty. Maybe. We know that poverty wages here in Edmonton is about $21, $22 an hour, whereas the minimum wage in the province of Alberta is only $15. So paying $15 to an employee is despicable, right? But $15 to a contractor is a different deal, especially when you have a commissions situation set up. So every time they make a sale, they get X amount of money or X percentage. Maybe you have multiple tiered products and they get a larger and larger amount, right? Whatever it is. But you want it so that, I don't know, they can make about 5 sales a week, something like that. And if you're paying them $100 for each sale, that's another $500. So say times 2, plus another 1,000. They're billing you out at about $2,300 every 2 weeks. That's not bad. That's a little more in line with a decent wage. So $22.60 divided by 80 hours for the 2-week period comes to about $28 an hour. And with their ability to get good with their sales, they could make a lot more, right? You want a salesperson that's just going to go crazy. And I certainly would tier it up in some way. Each week, they get X amount for the first X amount of sales, and then a larger amount for the next group of sales, right? Tier it up, give them more incentive. Or every time you make X amount of sales at your current sales commission rate, you get a bonus of this much, right? Get creative, whatever you want to pay them. But I think if you're in some sort of sales situation and you want someone doing sales for you, there's got to be the two levels. Because if you're going with a 100% sales commission situation, it feels dirty. I really, as an HR person, I really feel like you need to find some happy medium. Because some people take a little bit of time to ramp up. And if they don't have that base pay to sustain them for a few weeks or a few months before they start ramping up the sales, then they're just going to leave, right? And they're not going to get the time to learn your service, your product, your systems, whatever. I'm sorry, I keep looking this way when I think, because that's my window. And I'm looking out at my neighbor's yards, the cat's sitting on the windowsill right now. So it's just every time I think, I look that way. Because if I look this way, I got my light right here. I'm just looking at. So if I'm looking that way, I'm thinking. I'm thinking and trying to make up some more bullshit to share with you. Yes, that's the way it works. So getting your first employee, if you're in a situation where you can make it a contract position early on, I think that's great. That will make it easy on the back end for bookworking, because you're just paying them. They've sent you an invoice, their GST is on it, you pay that amount, done deal. But if you got an employee, you're tracking hours, and I'm out of tea. You're tracking hours, and you're thinking about benefits and different type of insurance or more insurance, WCB maybe, the workers' compensation, right? So there's other things that fall into line when you're saying you're an employee. So just consider the benefits of having just a contractor and giving them flexibility. Naturally, you want to protect yourself. You want to say, if you don't make a sale within a certain period, if you don't make your first sale within the first 2 months of being hired, we have the right to let you go, right? If you go a certain period with fewer sales or no sales, then you don't get your next bonus or something, right? You can put in these, I don't want to call them punishments, but I think that initial one, right? Think to yourself, how much money am I going to be able to pay out while this contractor learns to make sales for me? And I definitely would say, make sure you're ready for 3 to 4 weeks of no sales coming from this new salesperson. Be prepared for that, and say, if they don't make at least one sale in this time period, I'm going to let them go. Right? There has to be something. You can't keep someone on for 6 months and they're not making any sales. Right? So come up with some minimum like that, but you certainly want to make the carrot way bigger than the stick. So you hire someone and you say, if you can get your first sale within the first week, I'm going to give you this additional bonus. Right? Make that carrot bigger. And say if you can make X amount of sales in the first month, you also get this other starting bonus, right? So certainly make it worth their while, not just that basic base pay that you're giving them, but the ability for them to really do the work and get good. Because we know, just like anyone else, salesperson has to get good at what they're doing. And it's better if you give them some positive incentive, a bigger carrot, as opposed to punishment. If you don't make your first sale in the first week, we're going to have to let you go. If you don't make X amount of sales in this time period, we're going to have to let you go. And that's where the performance evaluations come in. You evaluate each one of your contractors or your employees, and you have an amazing training program. Training. Whether it's an employee or a contractor, you still have to take the time to make sure they're trained and understand what you're doing, understand the tasks and the programs that you're using for your business. You have this major responsibility to train. If you hire anyone, and you expect them to just hit the ground running, you are just fooling yourself. You need to sit down and train them. Nobody is coming in at 100% into your organization, because there's always going to be differences between what you do and what the competition does. So make sure that you take the time to train. And it can be hard if you're a single person business. You may experience a slowdown, because what you're doing to generate the business, to generate the revenue, is going to slow down, because you now have to train somebody. But as soon as you're done training them, then you're going to see some growth. And then when you train the next person, there's going to be less slowdown, because you've got one person trained already. So it's never going to be perfect. It's always going to be some level of messy. Expect that. There's never going to be a perfect transition. But just remember, with contractors, if in the contract you got to put in something like that, this contractor needs business insurance that can cover what they're doing for you. Sorry, something in my throat. And so they need some sort of contractor insurance, and they're covering that. They're paying that themselves. That has nothing to do with you. But if they mess up, like I have omissions and errors insurance. So when I'm advising my clients, if something goes terribly wrong and my client wants to sue me, I've got the insurance to help me out with that. Right? That's the same thing with your contractors. They should have their own insurance that's protecting them. And because if they mess up and the client that they've hired or got for you wants to sue them, suddenly you have to also take care of this contractor who's not really your employee, right? They need to protect themselves. And you need to put it in the contract that says insurance. The contractor must have adequate insurance for the job, for the list of tasks on this job description, the secondary document that you're creating with the list of all their daily tasks or whatever they need to do. So the contractor takes the contract and the list of duties, goes to their insurance broker, their insurance agent or whatever, and says, hey, I need adequate insurance that will cover me for doing this work as a contractor, right? Naturally, the more physical work that's dangerous and things like that, I mean, if the contractor is a mechanic or a welder or a pipe fitter or something like that, then there may be more insurance. I know when you go work in the oil field, you need minimum, I think, $5 million insurance on your vehicle if you're driving it out there into the oil field. Because if you accidentally drive your truck into a freaking wellhead or something like that and cause major damage, the company's not paying for that. You're paying for that. Your insurance is paying for that, right? So you got to make sure you've got adequate insurance. Woo! Yawn. Oh my god. Okay, so we've talked about contracts because I was working on contracts this morning. So that's what's on my mind. It's my show. As always, if you got an HR question, no matter what type of HR question it is, go ahead and ask me. We'll talk about it. If you have a small business and you want to come on the show and talk about human resources, we can give your business a little plug, and we can talk about your struggles, because other small businesses are going to have the same struggles that you are, no matter what they are. They're still doing the same things. They're trying to hire their first employees. They're trying to avoid the added expense of an HR professional in the organization. If you don't have at least 75 employees, you shouldn't have a full-time HR person in your organization. That's a waste of $60,000 to $80,000. You might have a consultant like me who advises you, but you're paying very little to, like it's not an ongoing expense. I mean, something like that. Yes, you probably need that, but you don't need a full-time HR person until you get to a certain level, and that'll save you some money, man. That's where a lot of people are like, oh, I was trying to create a job description and I got all these different job tasks from all these different areas, and I also need some HR help. So I'm going to hire an HR advisor who's also doing marketing and sales and, what, admin work in the back end, like whatever it is. Like, I mean, that's a terrible job. Nobody wants to be in that job. So only when you have enough tasks for a type of job, then should you consider putting someone in that role. And if it's not client facing or revenue generating, then you shouldn't be thinking of that first. That should be secondary. Oh, excuse me, burp. A lot of small businesses, because they don't have that HR person in there, you're growing from just you to 50, 75, 99 employees. You're still considered a small business, but you haven't yet got that HR person in there. You're going to start seeing some issues in your organization. They're going to start appearing. And that's where either you as the owner, or you need to assign a manager or supervisor who handles HR issues. I mean, you're not HR experts, but you have to deal with those. I mean, that's where something like my $7 ebook could really help you out. Because my $7 ebook is all about stopping staff drama within 5 days, right? It's a little toolkit that says, let's attack this staff drama. And it's perfect for a small business that's starting to feel, hey, this person doesn't like me, that person looked at me funny, or whatever, the growing pains of a small organization. That link is in all my links. which is this QR code at the top of the screen, and that takes you to my link tree. This all my links QR code in the top of the screen takes you to linktr.ee/IanTheHRPro, and that's my link tree. And on there, the first one should be Stop Staff Drama in 5 days. That's a $7 ebook. The simplest thing that a small business owner probably needs to deal with HR issues. And it's basically just how to deal with these bickering, gossiping people that aren't getting along. We all like to call our businesses a family. I think that's a red flag. But if you really want to make it more family-like, you should make sure that, Chan, what are you doing? You're not sitting there. Oh my God, this cat. So, hey, don't mess with my light. So you want to get some ebooks, some advice. You want to start looking for that advice. Yeah, there's lots of free advice out there. My ebook is me, years of experience put into this little $7 ebook. Jan, oh my God, I gotta move her because it's gonna be like this ongoing. Look at this culprit. Look here. Look at the people. Apologize. Oh my God. Oh my God, you're so cute. Okay, go down. Leave me alone. No, you're not coming back up here. Toxic coworkers need love and they want to sit in weird places. Go sit on the chair. Sit there. Move the recycling bag off my nice cozy chair and she like ran away. Sit on my chair. Issues with your coworkers. That's what you probably need first and foremost when you're a small business owner. So go to that Linktree link and go get that $7 ebook off of me. I wonder if I even have it listed here anyway. I might have a better link for it. Let's have a look at this. Is this the one? Yeah, that is one. This will take you there. Stop staff drama fast. How to stop staff drama in 5 days. $7. QR code here. But it should have also jumped up in your chat. Hopefully, whichever place you're viewing from. I know it'll show up on YouTube. I'm not sure about the other places. Anyway, so I just thought I'd put that up there so you can see it in the chat. I'm going to get rid of it though. Move it out of the way because it takes over the space. You might not see my whole pretty visage. She's just sitting over there confused now. Like, why is this recycling on the ground? Right. I think that's good. We don't need to talk about that anymore. HR questions? You got an HR question? Ask me. Unless you're currently downloading my $7 ebook to solve all your HR problems. Okay, it's just the staff drama stuff. But it's the first step in making your organization better, more family-like. People do have different personalities, and when you're trying to get them all in there to working together, then you've got to solve some of these issues. And the main thing is, I got to go back to training. You got to train them on what their job is. Okay, that you do all these tasks, that's you. But you also need to teach them the opposite ends of what they do. So why is the work coming to me? Where is it coming from? What does that person do with it before it comes to me? And where am I sending the work? What does that person have to do with the work that I send them? Because there has to be this two-way feedback. I'm doing my work, but maybe if I tell the person who sends it to me to do something a little bit different, it'll help me. And when I'm sending it the other way, upstream, I can ask, is there anything I need to do to make the work easier for you? Is there something, can I present it in a different format? Is there, just some other additional task I can do that'll speed up your process? Right. So you want every employee to be thinking like that, not just, I'm a cog in the machine and I spin this way and that way, and that's all I do. You don't want employees like that. You want employees with the blinders off, and they're all, how can I improve the system? How can I get more work done for me? How can I advise this person to allow me to do my work better? How can I help the person upstream better? Right? You need to have that feedback in the process. Too often we see, this is the silo, this is what I do, I don't care about anything else, I'm getting the work done the way I was told, and that was it. Right? There's always room for improvement, for innovation, for creativity. Right? There's room for that. And if you're in an organization where they don't allow feedback and improvement, I mean, that's a red flag. I like to call employees hired hired brains. Your employees are hired brains. They're not machines. You want a machine to do something, you go buy a machine to do that job. If you have a physical person doing a job, you have access to their brain, their thoughts, their creativity, their feedback, their ideas. And if you're not accessing that, you are squandering your money. Why pay someone to be a robot and just shut up and do their job? That's a waste of brain power. You need to make sure you go in there and you grab every inch of brain power that you can. Right? Hey, Jim, how can we improve your processes? How do you think Wendy can improve her processes before she sends it to you? How do you think you can help Edgar? How can you help Edgar with what you send to him? Get those ideas out of these people. Make sure you have an environment where you are totally open and ready for ideas. You're not going to use every idea, but you're going to hear this other version, this other side, this other type of feedback that allows you, as the owner, the manager, the supervisor, the organization, to grow. Diversity in an organization is so important. You want people from all walks of life, all ages, everything. You want so much variety that you're getting different types of ideas. And you gotta just have this big bucket of ideas that you can always look at and say, oh my god, oh, we gotta improve something. So, here's an idea that Janie gave me 3 years ago. It wasn't right to do it then, but now we can do it because we have XYZ in place, right? Get those ideas, keep those ideas. You might not use them right now, right away. So when you're collecting ideas, make sure you tell them, that fact. I need your ideas. We might not use them. We might not implement them right away. We might use them down the road, or they might help contribute to a future iteration as we go, right? It might not be something that's 100% this is how we do it, but certainly we might be able to tweak something, right? You want to constantly tell them, I'm looking for feedback. Just be aware it's not going to be implemented right away, or there's a very low chance that it might be implemented, but we have to keep the ideas coming to grow. And because too often we sit down and say, I want everybody's ideas, nothing changes, nothing happens, and all the employees were like, well, why did we share our ideas? Because you didn't preface it by saying, I need your ideas. They might not happen right away, but I'm going to use them to try to form our next version of what we do, right? Like, and it, as long as you're setting that expectation that, you know, this might not change overnight. There's a million other factors coming from a million other directions. So things don't change like that. No organization changes like that. So training and feedback. I've discussed my chart before, where it's the 3 circles: employees, management, and HR. And all 3 groups give feedback to the center, and the center, the heart of your organization, is where the feedback goes. And then the feedback shoots into the training and support between the 3 groups. And that is just so vital, getting that feedback, because every iteration of your organization is going to prove a little bit more, because we're doing things a little bit different. We're training new people a little bit different, so that they can be successful. Oh, something in my eyeball. It's hard for me some days because I don't know which type of organization you're in, what you're at. I mean, my advice to some sort of law firm or consulting firm is going to be different than my advice to the mom and pop convenience store, right? Everything is going to be a little bit different. So if you got a question, ask the question for your business type. But I had something. So anyway, we can never definitively say this type of HR advice is going to work for your organization. It's a growing, changing situation. People are all different. You got to just try things. You got to keep trying things, because that's how you learn. When something fails, you're like, okay, guys, we tried that for the last 3 months and didn't do anything. In fact, we had all these other issues come out of it, right? So tweak it again. All organizations grow and change like this. And the growing and changing happens also when new employees, new bloods, new hired brains get into your organization. So use those hired brains. I mean, what a waste to hire somebody and then you don't get any feedback from them. What a waste. I would almost argue that the feedback they give you after working for you for a little bit is more important than the work they learn to do and are currently doing for you, right? The feedback is what's going to make your organization grow. the feedback is the gold. The feedback is the goal. If you're not getting feedback from your employees, from the janitor to your vice president, you're doing something wrong. You've got a faulty organization. You're not getting that feedback. This is why larger organizations start to stagnate, and the only thing they seem to care about is making the money and being greedy. I mean, if you have 50 employees, that's 50 different ideas, 50 different possibilities for improvement. And I mean, if you as the owner or manager think someone was worthy enough to be hired, then they're worthy enough to give you feedback. Right? Why would you keep someone around in your organization that you didn't trust enough to give you feedback? That's ridiculous when you think about it. Why keep someone in your organization that you're just oppressing and saying, just shut up and do your job? Why would you keep that person there? That's crazy. At worst, unethical. Because you're stifling this person, this human being. And, when I talked about on my live on last Friday, when we talked about the possibility that humans are the only intelligent life within the galaxy and or possibly the universe, why would we treat any one person as less than? Right? Everybody should be getting feedback from everybody. The dumbest sounding idea might be the savior of the whole organization, right? The first time you hear it, you're thinking, oh, that's a dumb idea. Oh, God, just shut up, Wendell. Your idea is stupid. You're thinking in your head, right? But like all brainstorming sessions, you don't dismiss an idea. You put the idea down on your brainstorming board, right? And then you do the thing where this idea right? So, Wendell's stupid idea, and we tweak it like this, and it becomes an amazing idea. Right? Don't dismiss that initial bad idea. Let it ferment. Let you think about it. Let you, you heard it 2 months ago, and then all of a sudden you're like, this is how we can make this work. If we do what Wendell said, or we do this modified version of what Wendell said, right? Because we think about our organization. Not everybody knows everything that's going on in the organization. They know their part, and they kind of know how they're connected. They might not see the big picture like you see the big picture. So this idea might seem out there floating in space by itself until you have enough time to think about it and see how these ideas connect. That's the beauty of brainstorming, man. When I spoke last Friday about how we are creating beauty, that's the purpose of life, to create beauty. Well, if you have your organization, you're trying to create something beauty. You as the owner or the manager, executive director, whatever, you're trying to advance this piece of beauty. And you need everybody's paint and their paintbrushes and their tools and their skills and their techniques to make this even more beautiful. You're trying to create the beauty of your organization, and you need to lean on your hired brains. So, yeah. So there. Itchy side here. Yeah. Organizations can be so beautiful. No matter what organization you're creating, you can make it beautiful. And the beautification of an organization comes from the feedback, the brainstorming of all the brains in that organization. If someone works for you, they probably love what you do. They probably love what they do. Or maybe they're just thinking, I'm going to stay in this position until I can get a new job, right? But wow, you got them there. Get their feedback. Get creative. Find creative ways that they'll give you feedback. Some people aren't going to say nothing to you, right? Those are the quiet employees that never speak at the team meetings. They're just sitting there agreeing with whoever's loudest, whether it's negative or positive. So you may have to go to each individual person, talk to them one-on-one and say, hey, I value your opinion. I need feedback from you. You're quiet at the meetings, so I'm giving you this opportunity to give me feedback, give me ideas, anything. And that's how you create that beautiful organization. That's how you create an organization of trust. And that one employee who's like, oh, I'm only here until I get the next job, they might decide that they don't want to leave because suddenly they feel trusted. They feel valuable. You've valued their hired brain, and now you just keep them. They'll stay forever. I mean, as long as you're paying well and you're giving at least annual cost of living pay increases. If someone is in your organization and you are not thinking of firing them, they're kind of the backbone person who's just always there doing the work. They're not rock stars, but they're always there. They deserve the cost of living pay increase because you're not thinking of firing them. If someone is the rock star, they also get the cost of living pay increase, but they're also getting a merit pay increase. So, and I've seen organizations use the excuse that they didn't want to make other employees jealous if they gave someone else a pay increase and wanted to keep everyone at par. And I'm like, no, this is going to show you who the rock stars are. And you can turn back and say, look, I value you. You are a backbone of the organization. And that's why I give you the cost of living pay increase every year. But this person has gone above and beyond, so they also get a merit pay increase. And then you say, if you want a merit pay increase too, this is what you need to do for us. And if they leave, or they stay and excel, and the organization wins. You just got to be upfront about it. If you're all secretive about, oh, we gave this person a pay increase, don't tell anyone else. That's dirty. that's underhanded. That's playing employees off each other, right? You want to play employees off each other in a positive way, right? Everybody knows that Wendy has been doing an amazing job, so we rewarded her with a pay increase. Let me just make it public. Who cares? Anyone else also wants a merit pay increase, come talk to me, and I'll give you a list of things that you need to do to get it done, right? So it's I'd rather be open and honest about that and dealing with the ramifications. You're going to notice the people that are greedy and just there for the money. You're going to find out who they are. And those people are going to have to work really hard to stay there. And you're also going to notice the people that aren't affected by pay increases because they just feel comfortable they're doing their job. Maybe they don't need to get a promotion. Maybe they don't need to change their job. Maybe they're absolutely 100% comfortable and happy with what they're doing. You are going to find people like that. Those people are valuable in that they're, like I say, they're the backbone of the organization. They're always going to be there. They're going to do their job. And that's great. You want those people. And you want those people to stay long term. If you want the organization to grow, you do have to find positive rock stars. So positive people in your organizations are the champions. They are saying, come on team, we can do this together. Let me know how I can help everybody, and they're positive. The negative people is always like, but that's going to give us more work and we might have to stay after hours or I might have to work through my lunch, or that's going to increase my client load by 10%, right? They're going to constantly complain and not bring ideas. The positive person is going to say, look, I know we're going to get our client base for each of us increased by 10%, but this is a great opportunity for us to reach our goals and maybe get that bonus as a team or whatever, right? They're going to be a little more positive. Let me know how I can help you. And the rock star is going to be that positive person, but they are also going to go above and beyond and just grind out the work. They are going to be so awesome. And they are very money motivated. So you want to make sure that you're motivating the positive people that bring everybody up in the organization, as opposed to the rock star that's all out just for themselves and they bring everybody else down. The person that says, I made it to my bonus and none of you suckers did. You don't want that person. That's a sore loser, right? You want that person that says, I'm so grateful I got to my bonus this month. If anyone wants some advice, come talk to me. I had a couple tricks this month that really helped me, right? Like, they're giving help. They're coming back with support for their team. So that's the person you want. Those are the people you want long term. Positive backbone people, positive rock stars. And I mean, you're always going to have some sour grapes in there somewhere. Always. So just learning how to deal with it. Small organization. Get my $7 ebook to stop the staff drama in 5 days. Where are we? We're 1 hour and 9 minutes in. Nobody's asking any questions. So I'm going to let you go because I got to go work on that contract and get it out to my president of the organization, volunteer organization. And I'm going to check to see if any clients need any support also. Okay. Um, yeah.